Good afternoon, Facebookers, and welcome to this Lessons in Leadership episode number 9 today. It is the 18th of December, so we're getting closer and closer to Christmas. If you are watching and want to make comments, please put your name in the comments box so that we can see you, because we're on StreamYard on Facebook, and we'd love to know who we're talking to when you do make comments. So my name is Mary Gregory. This is, as I say, my 9th episode of Lessons in Leadership, and I'm very excited and delighted today to welcome Jamie Bunce, who is the CEO of the Inspired Villages Group. Hello, Jamie.
Hello, morning, Mary. Afternoon, Mary. How are you doing?
We have it's always that time of day. We've just slipped into the afternoon as we've gone past 12 noon. So I just want to share a bit of background as to how I know Jamie. So I met Jamie through working with you, actually, as a coach and as a leadership consultant, supporting you and your executive team. And it was an absolute delight to work with you. And Inspired Villages is absolutely the right name for your organization, because you are an inspiration, and what you're doing with the intention and vision of your company is inspiring, because you're all up for transforming the experiences of later living and just looking at it from a whole new perspective, providing people a really good quality experience and just building fantastic communities around the country, which quality-wise, I've never seen anything quite like it before. So can you share a bit about Inspired Villages and how you've come to be and what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, and the difference?
Sure.
So a few questions there all at once.
I'll have to write them down. Well, thank you very much for inviting me onto this, Mary. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk live to you today. So hopefully it'll go well and people will find some enjoyment in our session. But Inspired Villages was formed in 2017 when Legal & General bought a business that I co-owned, where they looked and saw the opportunity of creating a real tangible difference within the housing with care market, as it's called now, which is retirement communities. We've embarked on a very ambitious plan to generate a significant number of retirement communities across the UK. Currently have 6 operating villages, 2 others in construction, and then a number of others now going ready for construction, with a significant number going through planning. 3 years ago, there was 25 of us working in the business. We're now at 300 working within the business, which is hugely exciting, because we're making a real difference to people's lives. You know, this is to residents that's living with us. We have nearly 1,000 people living with us currently, and their families, plus our colleagues and their families. So I take a great pride and pleasure in being able to see a transformation of people's lives. A retirement community is a mix of independent and assisted living. So independent is for people to live very much their own lives, to get old in their own homes, and to be looked after as much or as little as they need or want. Assisted living means they just need a little bit more help. So we offer non-regulatory care for people, focusing around tackling the awful issues of loneliness and anxiety that's much evidenced in the current sort of climate.
Yes.
Our business focuses around 4 pillars now. We focus around holistic well-being of physical, mental, social, and financial well-being. So everything sort of targets back to those goals of being able to drive tangible, positive benefits for people who are associated with the business through those elements of well-being.
Yes.
They're quite simple model.
I love that.
And each one sort of has about 150 to 200 apartments. We have a central core building that has our restaurants, cafes, bars.
So community centre.
Yeah, and it has a gyms which are open to external parties. Yes. Pools, sauna, steam. It's very much focused on living, focused on enjoying your time, and being able to make the most of each moment you have, and with us helping you as much or as little as you want.
It is an absolutely fantastic concept, and you've brought it to life in such a beautiful way as well. I mean, I would encourage people to go and look at your website, actually, to get a sense of some of the different communities you've already created, because they're all in such beautiful locations. And I love the fact you take such a holistic approach and focus it all around well-being, because when you think about it, we're all getting older, or we've got parents who are getting older, and this is really wonderful alternative choice for care as you in your later life. So it's really fantastic, and I love the community element that you bring into it. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention. So I will flag to the listener and to the viewers that we are both massive enthusiasts, Jamie and I. So we can both get carried away with sharing our enthusiasm. So we might interrupt each other at different points. So that's all right. That's just what might happen. But what I want to ask about is that, we've all been through this tumultuous year. At the beginning of 2020, we did not know what was going to be on the cards, really. And it's just been completely not what anyone expected, and very rich in learning as well from that point of view. And we're coming to the end of the year now. And I think what's impressed me about you and your business, Jamie, and the way you've all pulled together in managing it, is that your business is in care and in service of those that are more vulnerable as a group during COVID times. And yet you've managed it all absolutely brilliantly. So I'd like to hear a bit more about how you navigated that challenging journey through this year, really.
Yeah, okay. Well, it has certainly been a very interesting 2020, and I think I can speak on behalf of many people when we say we're looking forward to that ending and us stepping forward to a positive 2021. I mean, what's important for us is that everybody ages differently. So the worst thing that we can do is try to treat everybody as a single. So our success as a business is to treat people very much on their own terms, to try and see us challenging an issue through the eyes of the resident, their network, their family, as well as our colleagues and our families. And it became quite evident in the early parts of this year that there was a significant risk coming over the channel, coming over towards us. So we devised our plan. It was a 5-point plan. Where we spent a considerable amount of time across all people within the business and some residents to say we're going to lock down, but we're going to do it at the appropriate time in advance of any government plan about locking down, to say we're going to do this. It's all about a focus on your safety and then a focus on our colleagues' safety. So we devised a team of people across the business and empowered that team into coming out with a solution and then putting that back into a very simple format that our investor could understand and support. We then were able to be, as the world went crazy, we walked into that in a very calm way, in a collaborative way, as a whole company knowing exactly what our action plan is. So when we went to lockdown on the 22nd of March, I think it was, we stepped into that. We had a crisis comms call straight afterwards at whatever time, 10 o'clock at night. Yes, devise into stage 5, push, we're on. So we're on. And then immediately as we did that, we instigated our re-inspired plan, which is, right, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get back to a new normal? Taking government intervention, but also wrapping it around with our own confidence check. So we had our look out the window. Is it sunny? Doesn't matter what it's saying on the weather forecast. Let's check this out.
Yes.
And we empowered our team, and everybody across the business, all 300 people, knew which time we were in and knew what we were doing. We devised a Friday live session, which myself and our COO go on with special guests of people who get asked questions and things like that from the whole company for an hour on a Friday afternoon. We open ourselves to the company for questions. And then it gives me an opportunity to be able to talk to everybody on a video in this agile world we work in and connect with the whole business. Mm-hmm. And then we can go on a journey together. And our residents, the residents and their families can also be part of that, where we know that we can deliver services to them, we can help support them, we can go and have a proverbial cup of tea if we need.
Yes. Yes. So that sounds fantastic. So you really engaged and embraced the whole team element. The comms element came in really powerfully to that. What have you therefore learned on the back of that and the action that you took? What have you learned?
I think I'm a huge believer in empathy. It's one of my five key areas that I've lived my life by, and therefore my leadership by, is being empathetic to a situation, try and see it through the eyes of others. So the challenges that people are facing, ensure that we as a business, our DNA enables a great degree of empathy, absolute focus on that. Yes. And then ensure that there's an attention to detail and to keep it simple. We need to keep things simple. So for people, when you're trying to explain something, we say that we need to explain it to somebody with a reading age of 9. So if somebody with a leading age of 9 can understand what we're trying to do, then we've got a better chance of doing it. We also like to repeat the same messages. So just keep repeating the same messages in order for people to be very clear what our position was. Because if you've got, our average age is 79.
Yes.
We've got people who are all in that vulnerable category. Many of them, I mean, one of them was bragging they did the New York Marathon 30 minutes quicker than I did. These aren't people who are ready to give it. These are people who really want to be out there. And we've got to respect the individuals, right? These aren't people who they don't want to be locked up. They want to be looked after.
Yeah.
But they want to be respected on their own terms. And the team, I was truly inspired with all the teams out of each and every one of our villages, how they adopted a can-do approach. So the things I learned from it really is keep it simple, the can-do, empathy, understand the challenges that other people are facing, and respect that in totality. So
that is just a fantastic story to share. And having taken that approach, what is the impact, you think, around, certainly on your residents, the impact on them, but also on the people who work for you, part of the Inspired Villagers team? What's been the impact of all of this?
On the residents, I mean, we do these thing called NPS, which is our Net Promoter Score, and that sort of checks our resident happiness. And we saw the first lockdown 1, as we call it. We saw a marked increase in the way in which the bulk of the residents just felt completely looked after. Lockdown 2 has been a different story for us all. I think the darker night, the challenges have been it's certainly been a lot trickier for us all.
Yes.
How can you deal with that, especially when you've got a particular part of the country where it's saying we're open for business, and we're saying we're not sure we want you to be open for business. So we then look at what can we serve a person in their own home that makes them not need to have to go out, because we actually our own confidence test is making us feel like it's a bit more risky. So sort of driving those things forward, and then in terms of for our colleagues, for everyone working within the business, I think I'd like to think anyway that they all feel that they're part of a family.
Yes.
They all feel that if they fall over, we're not going to kick them. We're going to put our arms around, we're going to pick them up, and we're going to work with people. So across the business, if our business culture suits people, they'll stay with us forever and have multiple careers with us. Some people it won't, and it's fine if it doesn't. But those that it does, we can take them on a most phenomenal journey, and people feel that they're really part of a family, which is what we're about, building communities out in our villages, and I'm about building a community within the working environment too.
Oh, sounds fantastic. And I mean, absolutely, the culture you're creating then is one where it's safe. It's okay to make mistakes. We're not going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. We're actually going to support you and learn together from what happened, which is such a positive way to engage people.
I would say, I mean, we're blessed to be supported by Legal and General. I've got to say that here.
Yes.
And it's the most meaningful side, because they're a patient capital provider. We've got a partner that wants to do the right thing. So an old established business, a wonderful business to work with, great people, and that allows us because they're interested. So it's not just about the money; it's about doing the right thing. So in doing that, everything else will come. In my head. Focus on doing the right thing. Focus on keeping it simple. This year has been incredibly enlightening, very inspiring for me from where I sit, because I see all different parts of it, and to see the ability that people have when they have some empowerment to go that extra mile.
What you're bringing to my mind is just how incredible human beings are when put in the right circumstances and the right environment and with the right levels of support. People are phenomenal, and it really brings out the best in people. And that's what I'm hearing is what's happened within Inspired Villagers over the last year. And in terms of COVID, all these measures that you've taken have meant that you've kept the whole threat of COVID to a minimum, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, a real minimum. I mean, we weren't untouched by COVID, but on the very few occasions that we were, we have managed to investigate how that happened. And lots of times, unfortunately, it was linked to hospital visitation, and have an action plan in place in order to ensure the safety of the whole village. And then if in the very few occasions people did come down with the virus, then we instigated a very clear plan that allowed us to work and understand the worries that people had and their families had, and how do we deal with that? How do we make food come to people? How do we keep them mentally agile during this time? And the teams out of the villages, without any prompting, were doing the right thing. Their human response to it was at times, just so touching, just incredible.
Yes.
So,
and what I get is, as an organisation, you are emotionally sensitive. You're emotionally sensitive to your residents and to their families and to the people that work with you, which again is they pass on to the experience that your residents have as well. So wonderful role model as a leadership team, as an organisation, in terms of how to be responsive to your customers and to the people that work there.
And we don't get it right all the time, Mary. We don't get it right, but we learn. So we're one of our other values, we have the courage. We know that at times that you might get it wrong, and if you do, learn from it, learn fast, and then instigate a plan, and then spread that across the business. Be acceptance that we are human. We're not computers. People like their hands holding. They want to be there on that moment that matters. We devote incredible energy to be there to support as much as people want. Some people don't want it. Some people are just happy getting on with life.
That's the whole thing. Is I think we are all unique. We're all individuals. We're all going to, in terms of our later lives, we're going to age differently and have different requirements. So the fact you focus very much on the individual needs, I think, is fantastic. So you are, for me, one of the most enthusiastic and compassionate leaders I think I've met. And I think the compassion is coming through in waves in what you're sharing today. So I am curious about your own journey. And of course, today, I'm also really curious about what was a turning point moment for you in terms of you becoming the leader you are today, Jamie. So would you like to share with us something about your leadership, a story or something that happened that really has influenced you and how you show up as a leader?
Yeah, of course. Hopefully I won't go on for too long with this, but you'll probably have to stop me at some point. I mean, the reality is I've always loved work, always loved it. From the first memories I've had when I was at school. I was a kid that was trying to set the tuck shop up. I was the one that had the double paper rounds. I was the one that was trying to help the farmers out in the field. Anything to do something. It didn't really necessarily be a financial gain. But it enabled me to sort of to see every positive in every situation that you came across. So, whatever happened, I'd always try to look at the positive. I use the analogy of, I'm driving a car. I live my life like driving a car. I'm looking through the front windscreen. I'd glance back every now and then and see what's behind me, but most of the time it's through the front windscreen. So no matter what happens, I try to look for the avenues to create betterment. I mean, an example of that, my parents split up when I was 9 years old. I was obviously, very sad about that, as you can imagine, but quickly saw an opportunity for double pocket money. So very quickly, do jobs, double pocket money.
Real opportunist then.
I think so, but I wouldn't expect anything for free, Mary. I wouldn't expect to be able to, I don't mind working for everything I've got. I don't sleep a lot, so I use that extra time that I have when other people are fast asleep to doing stuff. So I'll be planning, I'll be looking, I'll be working, but it'll all be work related. And that's what got me into property, because I like to see a direct physical result from what I do. I don't get a lot of joy out of seeing a spreadsheet go from A to B sort of thing. I'd much prefer to see something. So real estate then really fit well with me. And through my life, I've had loads of sort of examples of where it's sort of drawn me in, and at the time I didn't see a lot of value in school, if I'm honest, but I'm not proud of, and my kids would be like looking at me mad if they were listening into this. But immediately I left school, I realised that I should have actually thought a bit more about school and not more about the tuck shop and all the other things I was getting up to. So I ended up 7 years part-time evening classes just to do my professional qualifications afterwards, because I saw the benefit in that. So it's actually then trying to see the tangible benefit of it. And then And that sort of then brought me around to reading books, and then start to see how other people do it and things like that, which again, I've got great enjoyment and great comfort out of reading books from some of the best people in the world, and then linking it back to my own life, and saying, actually, gosh, that's amazing. What people are seeing is good. I think the good to great book, is where I'm heading naturally. So therefore, a bit of education, then I can sort of move it forward. So they're always pivotal times.
Yes.
I think one of the sort of major times I had, which has brought me around to sort of 5 areas that I actually believe my leadership links back to.
Yes.
When first year of marriage, my wife had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had a building business. It was it was a bit of a disaster, to be honest. In hindsight, I was too young for that. I was stepping into space that I hadn't got the experience to get myself out of. You found out that you're owing people money, doing all sorts of stuff. But what I was doing is I was going to hospital every morning because I wanted to be there when she woke up. I would then go and try and set up a site. I would then go back in for lunch. I'd then go back and try and find the people who were meant to be working for me, and they'd all gone down the pub or whatever. And then back in the evening, and for 6 months I did that. And at the end of the 6-month period, I was feeling a little tired, to be honest.
Yes.
And I found that people then get a bit grumpy with me, and things like that. And I could do 2 things. I could either hide away and it would go wrong, or I could face it up and I could deal with it. And I took the latter. So I spent the time in getting closer to those people that were more angry with me.
Okay. Very courageous decision.
Yeah. But what it allowed me to do is to gain a great degree of empathy. Because people could understand I wasn't doing anything on purpose. I wasn't trying to be like I was being. I'd got other things going on.
Yes.
And that's one of the first big lessons that I had in business, is that if somebody is failing, or a partner or a relationship is going wrong, don't just take it on face value. Don't do that. Look behind the curtain, look to see what's going on, go an extra bit deeper, then try and see the issue through their eyes. So that was the first big lesson there.
Yes.
What I've done then recently for that, and I'll sort of talk you through each of my 5 steps, which if I ever write a book like yours, Mary, then this could be in it, is I find that I have a real strong purpose. And my business now, in Inspired Villages, is wonderful because I have a purpose. I want to make a tangible, positive difference to people's lives. And I have the ability to match my purpose with the business outcome. So a real sort of core part of what I believe in is if you can match your own purpose with what you do for a living or what you do in life, and it could just be I've got a purpose, I want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yes.
Then you're going to get on better. So find your purpose, whatever that purpose is.
Very important.
With the working output. Then the next one is a simple outlook. We can all make things incredibly complicated. We're very, very good as human beings to make the simplest thing really complicated. Bring it back to simplicity. Keep it simple. Try to knock the steps down if you can, so it becomes the right thing for you. So just keep it really, really simple. But then you've got to have an eye for detail. And I get ever so frustrated because I want it just so. And when it isn't quite just so, after a year of agile working and all those sorts of things, it's difficult. But you've got to keep that sort of quality threshold high as you can make it. Step to another level, step it up even higher if you can possibly do that. But have that eye for detail. But you wrap that around in empathy. Be empathetic. I've said a couple of times before, you've got to be empathetic. You've got to understand that we're dealing with humans, and humans have feelings and all those sorts of things. The main thing about it all, in every one of my own personal situations, is drive. If you've got a drive to do so, if you've got to really push to that, then you'll find a way. Because if you won't, you'll find an excuse, but you will find a way to get there. And if you've got that constant drive, and you keep pushing, and you keep going forward, you keep the energy level high, then you get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Phil, the guy that I work with at LNG, I'm going to read it out to make sure, he says, you've got to play for where the puck is going, not where the puck is.
Oh, I love that.
I love that as well. It says, because if you don't, you're going to chase fresh air and you'll get tired out. So all the news out, oh, where's it going? It's not where it is. Where's it going? How do I get to that point there?
So deal with what is now. I mean, and actually, this has been resonating with me over the last few weeks, is leadership happens in the present moment. It doesn't happen last week. It doesn't happen in next week. I mean, yes, you need to be setting direction for next week, but the actual decision and choices you make as a leader always happen in the present moment. And that is like the leadership puck, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that analogy.
Yeah, and it's simple though, isn't it? It doesn't need to be complicated. Just keep it simple. And when people over the course of the year, I mean, I've used the term that you see the fog descending on people, and you've seen people who then get into this place where they think, I'm the only one who can make the decision. I'm the only one who can answer the question, whatever the role is.
Yes.
Well, actually, you're not. You need to share that with people. You're not the only person who can answer every question. Let's settle it down. Let the fog go away. Let's get the sunshine back out. Let's just march on. Let's go for this. And I found the course of this year that I've had to say that a few times, and I've got great strength out of it, because it's actually saying, right, we're now together. We're now walking together. There's no point me poking you or anything. Let's do this together. And
it's interesting actually, because it's more about, we talk about leaders have got to create followers, but actually it's more about fellowship, really. Yeah. It's about how can we do this together, and the whole collaborative approach around things, which again is, if you're navigating this uncertainty and this ambiguity, we must collaborate, and that the reason for collaborating is that everyone's resources can be contributed then, rather than it's just all in my head. No, we need to be getting the talent, using everybody's talent to help us move forward together. So some very powerful lessons there for all of us, Jamie. I am so grateful for you sharing that. And I hope that our listeners, if you're watching this live, I'm sure that you'll be taking loads and loads of rich learning away from today. And if you're watching afterwards, please put your comments on the Facebook page afterwards. We'd love to hear from you and raise any questions or thinking and reflections that Jamie has raised for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I could talk to you all day, Jamie, but unfortunately I know you're a busy person, so you've got to keep going. But I'd like to thank also everyone for watching us today, and for those that are watching live, thank you for being there and for your support. Next week, we are moving our Lessons in Leadership to Christmas Eve. So that's next Thursday, the 24th of December. We're having a festive end of the year Lessons in Leadership with a very good colleague of mine, Oliver Johnson, who was Director of Leadership Consultancy at Penner when I used to work for them. And he is a wonderful, he would never call himself a guru, but he is a bit of a guru because he's got so much wisdom around leadership and around moving into, talk about later living today, Jamie, moving into, you don't necessarily need to stop working when you're in your 60s. You can go on for as long as you like. So he's got some real wisdom to share around that, where he's talking about his new venture, which is all about stepping out from the top team. So what's next for you? What do you want to create in your life beyond your traditional working life, as it were? So do join us next week, everybody, for our 10th Lessons in Leadership before we go into 2020. Thank you so much again, Jamie. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye for now.